Welcome to the Corporate to Coach podcast. I'm Pamela, a former corporate professional turned certified life and business coach and mentor. If you're ready to sign clients, grow your soul-led coaching business, and shed the employee identity so you can step fully into business ownership, you're in the right place. Let's begin. Hello, this is my first live and podcast recording of 2026. I'm so excited to be here with you. I want to talk about the resistance of 2026, because if you're anything like me over the last few days, I have been experiencing a lot of resistance in reflecting about my year 2025 and setting goals for 2026. And I want to share with you my process that I took myself through to overcome that, because it is such an opportune time of year and it is the perfect time to look at the last 12 months and look ahead 12 months. You know, there is nothing to stop you doing this any other time of year, but there is a reason that there is a collective consciousness on this topic. But when everyone's doing it and everyone's talking about it, it can feel very overwhelming. So I wanted to do this episode for any coach who is feeling resistance going into 2026. Maybe you're resisting setting goals. Maybe you're resisting reflecting on 2025. I also want to do this for the coach who has already reflected, but maybe there is something that this live is going to give you, or this episode is going to give you, that's going to elevate your reflections, because there's a way of doing it that's productive and generative. And then there's a way of doing it that can actually be very subtly self-shaming and self-judging. And speaking to a couple of coaches over the last couple of weeks, I'm seeing this pattern play out, and it isn't serving you. So even if you are doing the good work to look at where you've had failure, where you didn't create the results that you wanted, where there's been disappointment, where you didn't follow through or didn't do the things that you hoped to do, or where you didn't create the results that you expected or really desired, you can look at that and acknowledge it. But if you don't know how to alchemize it, then you're going to be subtly shaming yourself and creating judgment. That doesn't actually set you up for success, even though it's a good thing to do. And I want to talk about that. And I also want to talk to the person who has set goals for 2026, who's even looking forward to 2026. But it's possible that without doing this thing that I'm going to be sharing with you, that you're actually missing the very thing that is going to give you the specific and personalized, like unique to you, that no one else could possibly give you, lesson that you need to be able to move forward. So let me know in the comments if you're here on Instagram. Say hello. Let me know if you're watching on replay. Hello if you're watching on replay. Hello if you're on the podcast. And if you're on the podcast and you want to message me after this episode with how it lands for you, then you know my DMs are always open to you. And I'm also going to be inviting you to a really special session, a one-on-one, one-off session that I have decided to offer, because when I took myself through this process, it was so powerful and I nearly missed it. And I know that this might be happening for you too. And when you listen to what I have to say today, you may also realize actually there's going to be so much value for you in having this session with me. So you can go ahead and jump to the show notes or go to the link in my bio to have a look at that and purchase your session. Obviously, I'll tell you what it is in a second, but by all means, go and do that right now. And I'll tell you more details about that as well. And it all links in really beautifully, but whether or not you end up doing the session with me, this is going to be a game changer. So I'm so excited for you to listen in. So like I mentioned earlier, I had major resistance to reflecting on my 2025 and looking forward to 2026. This started around Christmas time. So it really was weighing heavily on me for a couple of weeks. Now, it's been an interesting December for me. I ran the Soulful Selling Advent Calendar. Hello to those of you who were inside. I had so much fun delivering it. And honestly, it was the light of my day, because obviously, as these things love to go, I got really ill with a really awful, like, cold flu virus thing, literally a week into the Soulful Selling Advent calendar. It was an Advent calendar, so it was a whole 24 days, the 1st to the 24th of December. Obviously, I got ill. Obviously, I continued delivering. If I was too ill to deliver, I obviously would have cancelled or postponed or done something. I was okay to deliver because I'm teaching on a topic that I know like the back of my hand. Like, soulful selling is my bread and butter. It's how I am as a business owner. It's my I gave basically a every single day I was giving either an identity shift, a mindset perspective, a energetic shift, or like a physical, like something physical, tangible that you could physically do, as well as prompts so that you could go and sell your heart out in December, build a beautiful hot audience for January, and just shift your mindset and change your mind around selling and the value of it. It was so great. So that really did cheer me up when I was feeling very sorry for myself, feeling very ill. But I went from this virus to going straight into my December break. And during that time, obviously with it being the time of year it is, I use that time to reflect and to plan, as we all do, as is what you do, especially when you're a business owner, entrepreneur, in the personal development world, a coach. Like, it's our duty. I was saying this in my email the other day to my subscribers. I was saying, look, it's okay if there's resistance, but don't just let the resistance be there and then not figure it out, because our clients, the people that we serve, the people that you serve, they are the people who are looking to make a change. And if you're going to be able to hold somebody through that change from a place of integrity and from a place of authenticity, then you need to be doing the work yourself. So you do have a responsibility as not just a business owner who is trying to build and grow and sustain their own business, but also as a coach, what you actually embody, what you actually help your clients with. Like, you have a dual responsibility to be able to leverage this time of year in your way. It doesn't have to look like everyone else's, but your way, because your audience are going to need this from you too, and they're going to need you to be able to lead and lead yourself. But how do we do that when we're experiencing this resistance? And look, my resistance was really about having residual disappointment, failure, and regret from how my 2025 went. And that's clouding my ability to be able to look forward, to be able to vision, to be able to forwardcast, to be able to connect to my future self, to be able to believe in my dreams and goals for 2026. And this was a really, really heavy feeling. Like, it didn't feel good. And it's credit to how much I've been able to shift this feeling and step out of it and alchemize it into something powerful. Because honestly, there was a moment like or what's the date today? The 5th. Yeah, there was a moment about 7 to 10 days ago where I was like, oh my God, if I continue to feel this way and I don't find a way to move through this isn't going to bode well for my year. This isn't going to bode well for how I think about 2025. It's going to put a dampener on my Christmas, my New Year. I'm I'm not liking this feeling, and I don't know how I'm going to be able to show up for my audience, for my clients, if I stay in this place. I could see the resistance. I could also see that it was a problem. I also really had to take a few days to really figure out how I was going to work through this. And at the moment, I don't have a coach. So I'm in between coaches. I generally have some kind of support to plug into. At the moment, I don't. So I really, and this is something that I really stand for and that I teach inside my core signature Thrive program, where all of my group and one-to-one clients have access to, is really tuning into my ability to self-coach and to guide myself and lead myself through resistance. So what I'm going to share with you today are 3 of the things that were the game changer for helping me get out of that resistance and be able to move through it. I know the whole like, oh, it's not about getting out of it, you move through it, like whatever language you like. I had resistance. I don't have it anymore. This is the bridge that got me from A to B. Okay. And I will also be sharing the invitation to work with me, to have a session with me to help you move through this resistance if you don't yet have the skill of self-coaching and you don't know how to do this for yourself. Because this is one of the core things I teach inside Thrive Group. It is to self-coach. It's the CEO embodiment module where I teach you how to be your own coach. Because we learn how to coach, we know to invest and up level our mindset, our business skills, our capacity, etc., etc., etc. But what we're not often taught is actually how to guide ourselves through these processes. And so this session will allow you to not only move through any resistance you're experiencing, but then it will give you the framework to be able to do this yourself forevermore. And it's such a powerful framework. So the first one is, and this is for the ladies in the room, the women in the room, or the people with wombs at least, is I remembered, and this was already just such an immediate relief for me. I remembered that I'm a woman with a cycle, and my cycle was not in my favor to be in the best place to be able to review and be gentle with myself and treat myself like my own best friend. The time of the month actually had a massive impact on my ability to review something as big as a year. I did an episode on this, I think about a year ago now, about the power of working with your cycle as you build, grow, scale your business. And this was a game changer. I was in my luteal and going into my menstrual phase. And I had so much resistance, as you do when you're leading up to your period and on your period. I I wasn't in the best place to be able to think positively, to be able to give myself the kindness that I deserved. When I noticed this and I shifted that, that was when I was able to go, oh, I'm kind of fighting myself instead of working with myself here. And tell me if you've ever done this. Drop a note in the comment. Now, interestingly, and everybody is a little bit different, but what I notice when I go into my luteal phase is that when I am not trying to access things like motivation, inspiration, dreaming, like visioning, and I'm just focused on like what is in front of me, tasks, I can trust myself, trust my processes. I can actually get really honed in and really focused. I find it's a really good time for me to do back end stuff, systems, admin, operations. And so, interestingly, when I recognized this and gave myself permission to sit down, just take one simple journal prompt and actually answer it just from the place of it's just a process. I just need to mind my brain for the things that I know to do and to trust myself. I was then able to get into a place of such focus, which created enjoyment because I was doing something positive for myself. When I completed that journal exercise to reflect on what my year and to reflect on what had gone well, because I started off with that and there's a reason for that. I I just had such a good time. It was just such a beautiful exercise. And I ended up with this list of it was like it was only meant to be 25 things, ended up being like 28 things that I had achieved last year that I was really, really proud of. I cannot tell you how powerful it was to experience that shift. So when I worked with my cycle, something powerful shifted, and that was working with my body and working with my energy and working with my brain and what it had the capacity to do. What I didn't do was then force myself to finish the rest of the review. I didn't force myself to do more than my body wanted. That again was another massive act of radical self-love that I have really been working on last year. Again, it didn't even hit. I could add that to the list actually. Oh my God. So that was another thing that I get to add on. Interestingly, what I allowed myself was extending that time. So actually, let's make that a fourth thing, extending the time horizon to complete this. You don't have to do it in a 1 hour session. You don't have to do it in a 2 hour session. When I invite you into our session, it's not going to be the full fucking shebang. We're going to be honing in on one thing, but when you do that one thing, it actually infiltrates everything. So you don't have to expect yourself to do a full review and a full plan in one session. When I gave myself permission to do it on my terms, to listen to my body, to work with my cycle, and expanded the time horizon in which I complete this, which has now been what, like a 2 going on to 3 week exercise, it has been so freaking worth it to take my time and to trust in that process. Now, as I'm stepping into my follicular phase, and obviously over the coming week, my 2 weeks, my ovulation phase, I'm already feeling the fucking clouds part. I'm feeling the desire coming in, the motivation, the drive, the inspiration, the life in me. That is just naturally unfolding. And me allowing that to unfold instead of seeing my resistance and then resisting the resistance, game changer, freaking game changer. So for some of you, that might be enough. And I'm so, so glad. But so we've done one, which is work with your cycle. Two, and guys, this applies to you as well if you follow your moon cycle, or if you're just connecting to your energetics of the day. Obviously, from a hormone perspective, you have more consistency than people with wombs do, but from a mindset perspective and an energetic capacity perspective, there are still things that influence and impact your day, as with all people. Your sleep, your energy, Christmas and New Year was a busy period. If you were busy with family, if you were busy with friends, socializing, just having fun, then maybe that wasn't the time to actually be doing reflection and visioning. Maybe now that people are back to work, you can get into that mind frame because you're not in the just being in the life in your life circumstances. So that is valid as well. So that's number one, is working with your body, working with your cycle, and working with the circumstances to a degree. Your circumstance in this case being your cycle, your moon cycle, or just the circumstances of your social life and family life. Number two is expand the time horizon. This doesn't have to be done in an hour or two. It can be done over a couple of weeks. That might give you a lot of freedom that you didn't realize you needed. So, number three is reducing the noise. This has been very valuable for me. I, over the last year, have been very particular about where I plug into, the people I follow. I have muted, silenced so many people, only not in terms of saying anything to them, just for my own like benefit. I've muted the account or stopped following them. I've just been very, very specific about who I tune into, who I don't tune into. Even then, there is still a large handful of creators, coaches, leaders that I freaking adore, who I invest in, who I love, who I respect. And when everyone is talking about the same thing, it can become a lot. So you don't have to plug into everything. And this is where you need to be discerning. You need to practice your right to be selective about where you plug in and where you step away. And when you are discerning and you practice that, you don't only just prevent the noise and prevent the overwhelm and prevent the burnout that comes from just having so many inputs and not knowing where to focus your attention, but you also learn to trust yourself a lot more. You learn to step into a more powerful self-led identity, which is everything that I represent and embody. So reduce the noise. It doesn't mean that you don't love your coach. It doesn't mean that you don't love the creators that you follow. It doesn't mean that you're not a great client. It just means that you're being selective and discerning. Choose who you're tuning into. If you see like a bit of this, a bit of that, a bit of this, a bit of that, and you decide that's your process, let it be your process. Let it be enough. And then trust yourself. And then don't let any other noise come in and interrupt that. Because this time of year, it's not going to look the same for everyone. Not everyone is going through the same experiences as you. Not everyone has the same thoughts about the year past, the year coming. So you get to make this your own. And when you give yourself that permission slip, you become that powerful leader who is trusting yourself, but also becomes the kind of person your clients can see is leading herself to. And when you lead yourself and then you communicate that, just like I am here on your platforms to your people, they see you being someone that they can look to give them guidance when they're feeling the overwhelm and the burnout. The ripple effect of this is is just tenfold. So that's number 3, cutting the noise. Number 4 is the resistance in and of itself. If you go through all of these phases, 1, 2, and 3, working with your body, um, what was number 2? It was a in the moment one that I added. Oh my God, obviously I've mind blanked. You know what number 2 is. Number 3 is reduce the noise. Number 4 is looking at the resistance in and of itself. So if you go through all of those phases and you're still experiencing the resistance, this means that this is the very thing that actually you need to look at before you look at what the resistance is about. Why are you experiencing resistance? Can you let yourself answer that question? Why are you feeling resistance? And what I found to be true when I did this for myself, by the way, I'm just seeing myself on the camera and I'm wearing this new ring. Isn't it divine? It's so beautiful. So, so beautiful. All of my rings are very, 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 very special to me. They all have a story. Obviously, these are my wedding rings. Anyway, anyway, let me carry on. Um, when I asked myself this and I let myself answer it honestly, because when you ask yourself honestly, you'll answer it honestly. What I noticed is that I was resisting looking at my year because I had thoughts about it that weren't loving, that weren't joyful. And I was seeing only through the lens of what I didn't achieve, of what the gap was to my goals, of what I hoped and wanted and didn't quite create. And when you just look at those things, you miss everything else. You miss everything else. And that ain't going to serve you. And you're not going to be able to create goals from that place. Once I saw that and I gave myself grace, and sometimes just the awareness enough is what gives yourself grace. When you see what you're doing and you're like, oh, wow, I'm the problem. It's me. I'm doing this to myself. Why? When you see that, often it gives you the power back to go back into being the objective observer and then being able to go, okay, I don't need to be resistant about the resistance. I can embrace my resistance. I can embrace the way I'm feeling. And then you are ready to look at your year past. And when you look at your year past, there's two things that I want you to look at. I want you to look at a list, uh, a list of all the things that were great about 2025. They can be the memories that you want to remember, the experiences you had, the things that unfolded. They can be from an achievement lens, so things that you did, things that you achieved, things that you influenced, that you impacted. It can just be anything and everything that gives you joy and delight that you want to recall about 2025. Then the hard part. It is then looking at the difficult things. What was difficult? What didn't go well? Where did you experience a failure or things not going as well as you would have liked? Where did you not complete things that you said you would? Where are things still left uncompleted? What are ideas that you had that you didn't even start? Maybe you planned on certain offers, workshops, freebies, funnels. Maybe it was the year that you planned to do more in your back end. Maybe dust off a course that you created a few years ago that you wanted to sell. Maybe it was updating your landing page. Maybe it was a financial goal. What didn't you achieve that you really hoped that you would achieve in the year? When you look at this list of those things that you've experienced, or rather not experienced, or experienced in a different way than what you hoped, it is not enough just to look at them and list them, because that in and of itself isn't actually going to serve you in any way. It's just going to remind you of where your shortcomings are. And when I did the list, it was like, okay, I felt good because I'd been looking at the things that had gone well. And as I said earlier, I didn't do this in one sitting. I did this over a number of sittings, but I was still carrying the energy of what I was proud of and what I wanted to remember from 2025. That alone equipped me to be able to look at my failures and to be able to look at the things that I didn't achieve. When I then wrote that list, the list wasn't that useful to look at and just list. It was like, right, okay, great. Now I can see it on paper. Like now I don't just have to have it in my head. Now it's official. Like I've written it down, whoop-de-doo. That didn't feel that great. What you need to do with that list is understand the lessons and find the gold within that. One of my coaches, she's coined this term, she calls it failure gold. Whatever you want to call it, it is knowing what the lessons are within that. But what I realized was that when I simply said to myself, what's the lesson here? Nothing really came to mind. This is when I tapped into my skill set as a coach. And I created for myself a framework to be able to look at each, and I did this for every single one. And remember, I say you don't have to do this in one sitting because it's a big exercise. But this skill is powerful because then when you're doing it as the year goes on and you do it as it happens, you're alchemizing as you go. But it is powerful to also do it for a period of time, in this case, 2025. When I looked at the year and each of the failures, each of the things that I said I would do that I didn't do, each of the things that I wanted to achieve that didn't quite achieve in the way that I wanted to, when I looked at all of those things, and then I took myself through the process that helped me learn what the lessons were and understand exactly what to implement so that I could prevent that from happening again, so that I wasn't relying alone on identity, so that I'm not relying alone on some like wispy, vague, I'll just have to be more confident. I just need to be more consistent. I just need to do more. Yeah, but no, because that's never going to get you there. It's it's the structure and the framework with the identity behind that that allows those things to unfold with this framework that I took myself through. And if you know how to extract lessons from your own failures or your own shortcomings, then you know this is what you do. Go ahead and do it. But when I took myself through this framework, and then I was able to see exactly what I need to do, and then I can decide what I'm implementing, two things happened. I actually alchemized, meaning I changed my experience of those failures. I was rewriting my past. Suddenly, the version of me that was looking at 2025 a couple of weeks ago, not feeling great about my year, I don't know how to tap into that anymore, because when I look back at 2025, having done this work, it was a really special year. It was a special year because of my achievements, and it was a special year because of how much I learned. That is so powerful. I feel so proud to be able to say that. 2 weeks ago, I would not have been able to say that to you. Secondly, these things, I'm not just rewriting the past, I'm identifying the very simple, very clear steps that I need to implement. And not that I just need to, but I know how to. And I'm inspired to naturally, organically, just driven to, because I can see exactly what not doing those things creates, because those were the 2025 results. And I can see exactly how it could change an outcome for next time. I am also therefore rewriting my future. And this isn't even about setting goals yet. I haven't even set my goals yet. But what I have done is now, when I set my goals, I've already laid the groundwork of exactly how I'm going to achieve them. Now it's just a matter of, I've got the ingredients, what do I want to make? That's a far more exciting and powerful and empowered place than going, I really want to make this and I have no idea how I'm going to do this. I really want to make this, but last time I tried to cook, it was a freaking disaster. I really want to make this, but who the hell am I to want this because I didn't do it last time? No, I'm going into my prep for 2025, for 2026, knowing exactly what those building blocks are going to look like. And that is going to set me up really powerfully for 2026. So now my next task is to then look at 2026. That's what I'm doing next. But what I realized with this framework is now that I can and I know exactly how to alchemize every every disappointment, frustration, failure, fear, doubt from last year in a really non-shaming, non-self-judgmental way, and I get to use that to powerfully set me up for success in 2026. Yeah, I'm feeling pretty freaking good. I'm feeling fucking excited for 2026. And I want you to have this too. So if you're listening to this and you are seeing that you are, like I said at the beginning, you're completely resistant and you haven't done it yet, you haven't looked at 2025 and you frankly don't want to. If you have looked at it, but hearing this, you're realizing that you haven't really extracted the lessons and you need to do that and you'd like to do that with support, then this is for you. And if you've already set goals for 2026, but didn't really look at the reflection from 2025, like you're pretty excited about 2026, even and what you're going to create. But so you've got like the end dish that you're making, but you haven't really looked at the ingredients you're working with, then this is going to add freaking fuel to your fire. Because that way, you're going to know exactly what you need to do differently. So if your goal is let's say you worked with 20 clients last year, 20 one-to-one clients, and this year you're like, actually I want to put a financial goal. Maybe for you it's like reach 60K, reach 100K, or reach like 50 clients, or launch your first group. It is the lessons from where you, and it's not that anything necessarily went wrong, right? Like it could be that you just had a freaking amazing year and you're like, where are the lessons from what I did that I need to extract so that I can repeat it and increase it? But for those of you who just didn't achieve your goal, it isn't as simple as just, well, carry that goal over. I actually saw this post a couple of days ago on Facebook and it just made me fucking cringe. It was a picture of these lines, these sentences written out, and each sentence was crossed out except for the bottom one. Every sentence said something like this. It was 2014 goals crossed out, 2015 goals crossed out, 2016 goals crossed out, all the way through to 2025. Every year, every goal was crossed out, or it was like, this year's going to be better than the last, this year's going to be better than the last. And then it's like, oh no, that was it, 2020 whatever is going to be my year, crossed out. 2023 is going to be my year, crossed out. 2024 is going to be my year, crossed out. 2025 is going to be my year, crossed out. 2026, and by this point you don't even believe it. Like you don't trust yourself anymore. Like all self-trust is gone. It's just a cliche that people do at the beginning of the year. Who actually achieves their goals? No, you're a coach. You're a business owner. You need to be the person who achieves their goals. You need to be able to lead your clients to achieve their goals. So actually, that ain't going to fly. It might fly for the person who isn't interested in personal development or achieving anything, whatever it is you do with your clients. But the work you do with your clients, they come to you because they want something that you can help them with. Do you help yourself with something that you want? This is that work. So what this session is I'm calling it a completion and continuation exercise. I did originally call it a completion and reflection exercise, but that isn't it. Reflecting for the sake of reflecting isn't it. It doesn't get you anywhere, as I discovered when I wrote down everything I was reflecting on. What the hell does that mean? This is about giving completion to those things so that you don't drag it into 2026. Its completion is knowing that you have closure. It is closing that door. But you're not really going to be able to close the door and start 2026 anew if you're secretly carrying baggage. If the next time you decide that you're going to sign a one-to-one client, you secretly have a lot of doubt, fear, frustration about your audience or about your offers or about marketing and selling experiences. That doesn't suddenly disappear because you declared it was a new start. Any baggage, any of the failures that are still residual from 2025 are going to show their head no matter how long you delay starting 2026. Doesn't matter if you decide to give yourself another week off. It doesn't matter if you don't really start the year until February. Because if there is still a version of you that operated in your business in 2025 that hasn't gone through any kind of completion and continuation in order to not just reflect, but understand what was actually happening and what needs to change, both structurally and from your identity, so that next time you do it, you actually create a different result and you actually sign the client, or you actually make the money you want, or you actually fill the group program, or you actually get that course off the ground, whatever it is, then nothing really changes even if time passes. So completion, because we need to complete it, alchemize it, and then continuation so that you can continue and begin your year. Because yes, it's beginning a new year, but really you're continuing who you are. That continuation needs to evolve. So completion and continuation session with me is we're going to schedule about 90 minutes. And well, we're going to schedule 90 minutes. It will be a session of about 90 minutes. And we're going to go through this process. There will be pre-work so that we use the coaching call as effectively and efficiently as possible. The pre-work being write down the 2025 wins and write down the 2025 failures, disappointments, things you didn't finish, whatever else. And I'll give you much clearer instructions when you actually do the work, so that when you come to the session, we can go straight into the alchemy and moving through this resistance. By the end of the session, you're not only going to have complete clarity on what created the results that you created in 2025, but you're going to have clear steps on what you are going to implement and change going into 2026 so that they support whatever goals you end up creating. And of course, you get the joy of moving through that emotion. And when we work together, I do the work both through a strategic lens, a mindset lens, but also a somatic and embodiment lens. Because that resistance, for some of you, it might feel like a block, a wall. For some of you, it might feel like a big ball in your chest or in your gut or in your solar plexus. For some of you, it might feel like you're just stunted creatively, like nothing's coming through, that there's like a veil or like a cloud over your head. Whatever it is for you somatically that you're experiencing, we'll move through that. For others of you, it might be the inner child that we need to work with. So in that alchemy, we will identify exactly what it is. We'll do the magic, as we do together. We'll identify the clear steps. And when you come out of it, you will have rewritten your 2025. You'll be able to embrace 2026, and you'll have the steps to create your goals, whether you have them or not already, doesn't matter. You'll have the steps to create incredible goals and be equipped to actually achieve them. So, like I say, go to the link in my bio, drop me a DM or a comment saying yes, and we'll get started. Or you can just purchase and book your session straight away and get that in the diary. It's going to be available throughout the whole of January, so you can come and book your session anytime. I can't wait to work with you on this. But if I just recap the 4 things, I'm still blanking on what the second one was. Oh my gosh, how funny. The first one is work with your cycle. Work with your body, work with your cycle. Number 2 is, oh my gosh, how is it that I have completely blanked on number 2? This is what happens when I come up with spontaneous things in the moment and then I haven't written it down. You're gonna have to rewind and listen to what number 2 was, okay? Number three was reduce the noise. Number four is alchemize the resistance. And if you need help with that, then come and do the completion and continuation session with me, the 90-minute session for 333 AUD, Australian dollars, and we'll get you set up for an incredible 2026. All right. I loved being here with you today. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time.